Hare Krishna to all dear devotees. Hare Krishna Hemagi Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Mataji, whenever you're ready, you can please start, Mataji.
Sure, Hare Krishna Mataji. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Today we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 10, Text 1 and 12, 1 to 12. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Deving Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudire Nashtaprayesu Abhatresu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistike. Text 1. King Parikshit inquired from Sukadev Goswami, O great and powerful saint, what was the cause of Nalakuvera's and Manikriva's having been cursed by Narad Muni? What did they do that was so abominable that even Narada, the great sage, became angry at them? Kindly describe this to me. Sukadeva Goswami said, O King Parikshit, because the two sons of Kubera had been elevated to the association of Lord Shiva, of which they were very much proud, they were allowed to wander in a garden attached to Kalasa Hill on the bank of the Mandakini River. Taking advantage of this, they used to drink a kind of liquor called Varuni, accompanied by women singing after them. They would wander in that garden of flowers, their eyes always rolling in intoxication. Within the water of the Mandakini Ganges, which were crowded with gardens of lotus flower, the two sons of Kubera would enjoy young girls just like two male elephants enjoying in the water with female elephants. O Maharaj Parikshit, by some auspicious opportunity for the two boys, the great saint Devarsi Narada once appeared there by chance. Seeing them intoxicated with rolling eyes, he could understand their situation. Upon seeing Narada, the naked young girls of the demigods were very much ashamed. Afraid of being cursed, they covered their bodies with their garments. But the two sons of Kuvera did not do so. Instead, not caring about Narada, they remained naked. Seeing the two sons of the demigods naked and intoxicated by opulence and false prestige, Devasi Narada, in order to show them special mercy, desired to give them a special curse. Thus he spoke as follows. Narad Muni said, among all the attraction of material enjoyment, the attraction of riches bewilders one's intelligence more than having beautiful bodily features, taking birth in an aristocrat family, and being learned who, when one is uneducated but falsely puffed up by wealth, the result is that one engages his wealth in enjoying wine, women, and gambling. Unable to control their senses, rascals who are falsely proud of their riches or their birth in aristocratic families are so cruel that to maintain their perishable bodies, which they think will never grow old or die, they kill poor animals without mercy. Sometimes they kill animals merely to enjoy an excursion. Text 10. While living, one may be proud of one's body, thinking oneself a very big man, minister, president, or even demigod. But whatever one may be, after death, this body will turn there into worms, into stool, or into ashes. If one kills poor animal to satisfy the temporary whims of this body, one doesn't know that he will suffer in his next birth. For such a sinful miscreant must go to hell and suffer the result of his action. While alive, does this body belong to its employer, to the self, to the father, the mother, or the mother's father? Does it belong to the person who takes it away by force, to the slave master who purchases it, or to the sons who burns it in the fire? Or if the body is not burned, does it belong to the dogs that eat it? Among the many possible claimants, who is the rightful claimant? Not to ascertain this, but instead to maintain the body by sinful activities is not good. Text 12. This body, after all, is produced by the unmanifested nature and again annihilated and merged into the natural elements. Therefore, it is the common property of everyone. Under the circumstances, who but A rascal claimed this property as his own and while maintaining it commits such sinful activities as killing animals just to satisfy his whims. Unless one is a rascal, one cannot commit such sinful activities. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Sri Krishna Das Prabhuji, please accept our humble obeisances. Or Gosha Shri Prabhupada and Gurmaharaj. Prabhuji, please take over the call.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Radharani Mataji. Thank you, Hemangi Mataji, for reading Srimad Bhagavatam today. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yogam Sikshashtamekam Purusha Puranam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Sariradari Kripambadirtamaham Prapadye. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langete girim yatkrupa tamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Shri Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Today we are seeing this deliverance of Yamala Arjuna trees. So how Lord Krishna remembers that by the mercy of Narada Muni that these two Yamala Arjuna, Kuvera and Nala Kuvera, they were Kuvera and Nala Kuvera and Manigriva, they were being turned into trees by Narada Muni's curse. Now Krishna is fulfilling Narada Muni's desire to relieve them. So we're seeing this brand new section. In the previous chapter, we've seen how Krishna's pastime of very famous pastime of how Mother Yashoda is binding Krishna to the wooden grinding mortar. So it's a very beautiful pastime. So very nicely explained by Sukadeva Goswami that how that Mother Yashoda is so fortunate that even exalted demigods like Indra, Lord Shiva, or Brahma, they're all under the control of Supreme Lord, but the transcendental pastime, the Lord shows that he completely comes under the control of his devotees. So this is the beauty of this pastime that, and how Mother Yashoda is so fortunate that she was completely binding Lord Krishna by her unconditional love. So and then Narada Muni, Sukadeva Goswami just kind of introduces that in the previous birth, Nalakuvera and Manigriva, they were extremely opulent and also they were very fortunate because they were very close to Lord Shiva and they were accepted as the residents of Kailash mountain. They were very, very fortunate. But because of their prestige and false pride, they actually fell down. And then Narada Muni cursed them to become trees. So hearing this, now Parikshit Maharaj is kind of inquiring in this chapter. So this chapter is starting with a question by Parikshit Maharaj. So he is asking, Katayatam Bhagavan Eta Tayo Sapashya Karanam. So he's asking, what is the reason for that curse? Sapashya Karanam. So what is the reason? And he's asking, Yena va devarshis tamaha. How is that sage Narada Muni, who is always in transcendental, elevated quality, how did actually he got angry? How is that possible? So many times we also when Srila Prabhupada used to travel, sometimes people would wonder that Prabhupada would get angry, and when people would wonder how is that a saint is getting angry. So when a saint is getting angry, it is basically it's not that same like what when we get angry. It's a transcendental, and there is also a purpose behind. Whenever a saint gets angry, either some is bestowing some mercy upon the person that he is dealing with. So similarly, Prabhupada also used to get really angry. He used to bite his tongue, just to teach a lesson to the person he was dealing with, so that the whole life they will just remember that instance, how not to do the same mistake again. So, like that, the transcendental anger from the transcendental devotees or Vaishnavas is very special. So, similarly, here, Narada Muni exhibited this transcendental anger by which he basically very merciful to these two brothers, sons of Kuvera. So, we'll just go through this pastime very briefly today. So, now Sukadeva Goswami is responding to Parikshit Maharaj's question. So, what is the Sapashya Karanam and why did Narada Muni got angry? It is he's asking Sukadeva Goswami to kindly explain these reasons. So now, so in this starting from verse number 2, now Sukadeva Goswami is explaining that these two sons of Kuvera, they were um, very much proud. So they were actually allowed to enter into the Kailash mountain, Mandakiniyam Madot Kathau, Kailasha Pava, Pavane Ramye. So in this Kailasha mountain, they were allowed to enter into the Kailash Parvat where there is Mandakini river. This is basically Mother Ganges is flowing from the spiritual world to the Kailash mountain, and then it's coming to the earthly planet also. So the same Ganges here is being described as Mandakini river. So they were actually enjoying all these facilities, being an associate of Lord Shiva. So, but then what happened? Mother Gurnita Lochanau. So they're actually, because of their being too much proud, and they lost their senses and they become um, tried to utilize that power for enjoying sense gratification. So what happened? They were actually Varunim Madiram Pitva. So they were trying to indulge in intoxication, and their eyes were rolling. So this is when Ravana was described. He was also described there like this. So he was pretty much intoxicated, not only the liquor but also by his pride, and his eyes were always rolling, and he was always copper red and anger, and he was rolling. So it's like similar kind of here also they were feeling that they were very exalted, they become proud, and they got intoxicated, and also they Stri Janir Anugaya Yadbis. So they were associating with women, they were drinking, and in the garden they were completely intoxicated. So here we can see that anyone who is not a Vaishnava or a Lord Vishnu's devotee, like sometimes we see there are many people take to worship demigods and they have desires and attachments. They do not surrender to Vishnu. So anyone who is not surrendered to Vishnu, with all the desires and attachments, they are not considered very intelligent. So in Bhagavad Gita also Krishna says, Kamais taistarda hitagyana prapadyante anya devataha. So because of the kama desires, people surrender to different demigods, they worship them, they become, demigods, and they ask for benedictions. But then in the desires in their heart, it just keeps one after another, keeps coming out. So they are carried away by the desires. So that is why anyone who is not surrendered to Krishna, they are, bereft of real sense. They get carried away by material desires. Eventually, they go after wine, woman, intoxication, gambling. So in Bhagavad Gita also Krishna says that four kind of people do not surrender unto him. So namam duskritina modaha prapadyante naradamaha maya apaharata jnana ashurim bhavam ashritaha. So one whose intelligence is being taken away by maya, it's an illusion. Like and also those who are atheistic in nature. So in this case, they are devotees of Lord Shiva, then they are on the Kailash mountain, but still, because of not surrendering to Krishna, they are also considered actually not very intelligent. So and then, so in this within this Mandakini Ganges river, what they were actually very playfully sporting, with the young girls, just like the example given is Gaja Eva Karunu B. So Karunu B with the female elements. In the Gajendra Moksha also we can see like Gajendra, the elephant, it goes with the whole family, so whole paraphernalia, many young elephants, female elephants, it goes and then takes bath. So like that, the example given that these two sons, Manigriva and Alakuvera, they were enjoying this sporting on this river with the young girls. And then it is mentioned that so when Narada Muni, by some great fortune, he was actually going through that place. Yadruchaya cha devarishir. So Yadruchaya means somehow or other by the, he was by chance. He was just going that side and then he happened to see this sons of Kuvera enjoying, in this basically by complete intoxication. It is mentioned that they were shibano, means they were maddened by the intoxication. So there are two kinds of intoxication, right? The liquor that we drink, that also intoxication, and also in this case they were completely intoxicated by their so-called pride, extremely pride about their position, and Kuera being the treasurer of the whole demigods, and he is extremely rich, and just like the rich people's sons, they are so much pride, and just by their birth they were actually acquired everything. So that is also intoxication. So here, now by looking at them, Narada Muni could understand actually their complete situation. So he was thinking these two boys were so fortunate. They were in the Kailash mountain. They were actually got the mercy of Lord Shiva, but still they are not taking advantage of it, and they are completely intoxicated. So he was just thinking about their situation. Um, so here, this is the mercy that, by having Narada Muni's a moment of association, these two sons, they were extremely become fortunate. So that is why sometimes say devotees say, even if we have to, in a negative connotation, but even if we have to ask some help, take some debt, or so you have to go to Vaishnavas, because when we deal with Vaishnavas, somehow or other we'll become fortunate. So similarly, the sadhu here, the Narada Muni, by the moment's association, they become extremely fortunate, and that is why in the Shastra it is said, sadhu sanga sarva shastra kaye lava matra sadhu sanga sarva siddhi hai. So just by that moment of association, we become so fortunate that we don't know how much elevation, purification that we can get. So by the mercy of Narada Muni, here these two sons become so fortunate they were able to see Krishna face to face. And not only that, they got completely observed and become devotees of Krishna, by purification and also complete absorption. So here, by the mercy of Guru, one actually gets Krishna. So in the whole universe, there are sometimes people traveling in the upper planetary systems, sometimes people traveling in the lower planetary systems. So it is like a cycle, merry-go-round. Sometimes up, sometimes down. But anyone who's fortunate, they can actually get the mercy by Guru Krishna Prasade Paya Bhakti Lata Beach. By the seed of bhakti is given by the mercy of Guru. So here also Narada Muni is giving that seed even without the sons of Kuvera recognizing it. So they were completely not actually, they were not really asking for it, asking for bhakti, but then by the association of Narada Muni, he is giving that mercy to them. So and then these sons, they were naked, and then the girls were also naked when Narada Muni appeared there. So just by looking at Narada Muni, Sapa Sankitaha. So these girls were, being scared of being cursed by Narada Muni. Sapa Sankitaha, they were actually Vashamshi, like they took all their garments and they started covering their bodies. But then these two sons were so much intoxicated that they did not actually, even by looking Narada Muni face to face, they could not, do that. They didn't cover their bodies with clothes. So at that point, Narada Muni contemplated what is the appropriate punishment for these two sons. So and then Sri Narada Uvacha. So from this verse onwards, Narada Muni just contemplating, and he's also giving the background behind what happened behind these two sons, why they got so puffed up by wealth, what happened in their consciousness. So this is just like the in the Bhagavad Gita chapter Ashurim, Daiva Ashurim, the qualities of godly qualities and then the demoniac qualities it's described. Similarly, Narada Muni is now describing what happens if one gets attracted to material enjoyment, how does the degradation happens, and it's so dangerous, slippery slope, right? So now Narada Muni started describing how this attractions for material enjoyment is gliding people towards the hellish life. So he started describing that if one is born in aristocratic family, like in a rich family, and especially when one is not educated, Sri Madad Abhijat Yadir Yatra Stri Dyutam Ashavaha. So Buddhi Brahmasha Raja Gunaha. So that Buddhi Brahmasha means like one completely loses in intelligence and he actually falls into the rajas and tamas, passion and ignorance, and then he starts gliding into this um, gliding into the intoxication, gambling, associating with women, all this. He tries to so-called enjoyment of life, and then gradually he loses all his intelligence. So, but on the other side, how to conquer this passion and ignorance? Bhagavatam says, Tata rajas tamo bhava kama lobha dayasche chetayete ranaviddam sitam satve prashidati. So Bhagavatam promises if one is able to just hear Srimad Bhagavatam, the pastimes of Lord Krishna, Lord Vishnu, then eventually this one actually can get rid of kama lobha, and then greed and the lust, and then the passion and ignorance will go away, and eventually the sattva guna will become established. So that is the blessings of Srimad Bhagavatam. So and then what happens when one gets puffed up by his wealth? He indulges in all these activities, and then eventually he starts killing animals. So Hanyate Pasho Yatra. So he started, here, if you look at people, all people who open big, big slaughterhouses, they're all, aristocratic people. They want it so much puffed up. They don't care about any loss of nature. They try to make more money by killing this innocent animals. They open up big missionary slaughterhouses, systematically employing people. Millions of animals gets killed every day. So this all being done by their being too much pride. Thinking they are in the control, and also people just enjoy killing animals in excursions. Like in America, we see people buy guns and they go to forests where there is legal to hunt, and then they shoot animals, then they take pictures, they post, and they have enjoy these kind of excursions. If you see people's houses, they'll have several pictures with fishing, killing animals, bones. All of these excursions are in the tamoguna, in the mode of ignorance. They are enjoying that activity, but it is taking them to the lowest level possible in the next life. So what will happen? Thinking that they are, powerful, they lose all sense, and then gradually they are completely gliding into the hellish life. So, so animal killing is prohibited in all religions, but then people do not care, so they don't care, and they find some loophole. Oh, this is allowed, that is allowed. But in every religion there is a compassion is mentioned, and Srimad Bhagavatam being the topmost, the establishment of dharma, it is completely mentioned as sinful, and one goes down to the hellish life. So in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yome Bhaktya Praichati. So if one offers with love Krishna, that a leaf, a flower, a vegetable, fruit, Krishna will accept, and that accepting that prasadam will basically yajna shishantas santo muchante sarva kilbishai. One will be relieved from all sinful reactions. So this is the way of coming out of that. So Narada Muni is saying that how one is gliding into that hellish life. So and then Narada Muni quotes a very important verse from verse number 10. So one thinks that he has this body. He's sometimes people get elevated to very big position, either president of the country, even demigods. So this body, after we leaving this body, what happens? Krimi with bhashma samnitam bhutva druk tat krite swartam. So this body, after leaving this body will perish. So in some traditions, they bury the body. So if you bury the body, then the body will get eaten by sand, and it becomes worms, and then it is turns into stool. If the body is cremated, it becomes ashes. If the body is thrown in some tradition, they just throw the body. The body gets eaten by vultures. Again, it turns into stool. So in any situation, the body changes into all of these transformations. So for such a body which is going to turn into ash, turn into stool, or turn into the worms, Narada Muni is saying, why are we taking such risk? For this temporary body, which is going to turn into these, why should we take risk and then do all the sinful activities and suffer hellish reactions for all of these? So this is the question Narada Muni is asking. So how can we avoid this? This is basically by how to avoid this is in this human form. What we are supposed to do is jivasya tattva jignasha. So we are supposed to ask questions related to what is Brahman, atato Brahma jignasha, about the Supreme Lord, and we have to approach a bona fide guru, and we should take shelter of him. Tashmat Gurum Prapadyante. We should take shelter of a guru and ask these questions related to Brahman. So that is how one can actually come out of this cycle of ignorance. So if we can approach such a bona fide guru, then it is possible to come out of this cycle. Otherwise, we fell into the rajoguna, the passion, and then we can just like a foolish animal, mrityu samsara vartmani, we can we just again in this birth and death, we kind of rotate again otherwise. So here also there is a word used, swartam, right? Tat krute swartam. So we don't know what is our own self-interest. So actually the Bhagavatam says, Nato vidu swardakatim sa Vishnum. So Vishnu is actually, to reach Vishnu is our own self-interest, but we forgetting that we are trying to think this, facilitating this body is our own self-interest, and we are entering into the deep hellish life. So and then finally Narada Muni is concluding here that when we are living, when we die, of course the body goes into ashes, the body becomes stool, the body becomes worms. What about when we are living? When we are living also, we can contemplate, whom does this body belong to? Deha kim annadata swam. So here Prabhupada translates annadata meaning, does it belong to the employer who gives me money to maintain it? So, obviously the boss, the employer who pays the salary, and because of that salary, we are buying vegetables and grains and we are eating. In a way, it's called Annadatta, is providing food. So, does this body belong to him? Or does this body belong to Nishketur Mathur Evacha? Does this body belong to a person who gave the seed, like the father who gave the seed? Does it body belong to the father, or does this body belong to Mathu Pitur Va Balina? So does it body belong to the mother who gave actually all the in the from the 10 months the mother actually carries the child from their own body, she gives all the ingredients so that the body grows. So technically speaking, the body is the nature actually gives the body, the father gives the seed. So technically, in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also, after he took sannyas, when he meets her mother again, his mother again, he actually says, "Mother, I'm very sorry. Actually, this body belongs to you. I was supposed to serve you, but somehow or other, I did not do that. I am a fool. Please forgive me." Like that, he was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was pacifying her mother because of her separation. She become so weak, and he was pacifying her mother like that. So technically, this body belongs to the mother, it belongs to father because he gave the seed, and it belongs to the employer because he is giving us the salary to maintain. It also belongs sometimes when the child is born, the grandmother and grandfather they adopt the child, because sometimes it happens the child is adopted, does it belong to the Matu Piturva Balina. So the grandson, like father of the mother, does it belong to them? Like that, Narada Muni is posing questions. We should just contemplate. We should really ask and see whom the body really belong. And then he is finally saying that does that body belong to a person by sometimes the slave, like the master and slave, sometimes in those days there was slavery that people would purchase with some money and then they would take the slave. Does it belong to the master who purchases it, or does it belong to the son who is going to burn this body after he dies? When the body is, when it is cremated, the son actually comes and cremates it. Does that body belong to that son? If so like that, if we can while alive also, Narada Muni is saying we can contemplate and see who is the rightful claimant. But because we are actually not the owner of the body, but to maintain this body by sinful activities, by stealing or by doing sinful act, by killing animals, by eating meat, and by cheating other people, like that, by doing sinful activity just to maintain this body, is finally not, Narada Muni is concluding, is not at all good. And then in the last verse for today, the verse number 12, um, so Narada Muni is saying, Avyaktva Prabhavapyam Yayam. So Deham. So this body is manifested and unmanifested. Right? So when it is manifested, it gets a body through mother, and then it becomes of human form, or it could be an animal form. So when it is manifested, there is a body that is visible, and again it unmanifested and merger in natural elements. So in both cases, we can see that one who claims that this property is his own and committing sinful activities, just like killing animals or indulging in sinful activities, one is becoming more and more contaminated or more and more implicated. So that is what Narada Muni is trying to say, that even if somebody is not believing the soul, right? So, for example, in the Bhagavad Gita, also Krishna says in the second chapter that even if you don't believe there is soul, what is sometimes you are manifested, sometimes you're unmanifested. So, what is the use of hesitating to do your duty? So, like that, he is asking, asked Arjuna once. So, similarly, Narada Muni is also. So here also saying, Prabhupada is saying that even if those who do not believe the existence of soul, still if they kill this animals unnecessarily, or a body which is very much temporary manifestation of just a combination of matter, how does that justify that, right? So, like that, all kinds of explanations now Narada Muni is giving, and he is basically dismantling that the body, because of thinking this body is our self interest, we are committing so many sinful activities. So, so Hare Krishna, this is the last verse for today. Narada Muni is going to continue explaining about how the people glide down into this path of hellish life because of proud of wealth, proud of in an exalted position, proud of being born in a very aristocratic family. So in this case, Kuvera and Manigriva, Nala Kuvera and Manigriva, they were born to the Kuvera's sons. They're very, very, very wealthy. So because of that, how people glide down. So Narada Muni is going to explain further in the coming verses. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vranda ki jai. Panchakalpatrubhyasya kripa sindhubhyev cha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, devotees.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.